The point I'm making here today is that this is a scientific discovery and achievement, and the statue represents that. There would be no America today had there not been this scientific discovery. And yet people want to overlook that and only see the negatives. The people who make history are often imperfect, but the things they do are perfect. One point I want to bring up is I see 4 of you here, yet yesterday there were 8 of you, 2 of you left in the middle, and I heard that there's 30 of you. So how many people are actually hearing the opinions of the people who are here today? I'm just curious. Hey.
The secret.
That's all I got to say.
And aside from that, since we're expressing people who are offended by things, I want to state that as a daughter of a Cuban refugee, I'm offended that, and I find highly inappropriate that the mayor has named someone to this commission who has called Fidel Castro very heroic, and someone who said the words, if you believe in justice, if you believe in democracy, if you believe in people's rights, if you believe in harmony for all humankind, then you have no choice but to back Fidel Castro. Someone who was very oppressive to not only my family and millions of Cubans and have suffered greatly should not be on this commission to be judging history. And that is Mr. Belafonte.
As it has been said, this is a county that has the highest population of Italian Americans. And so we feel the effects of this commission particularly harshly. And that's partly because Italian Americans, it has not been that long since we were openly discriminated against. And so when the call came for the destruction of that statue, perhaps it sparked some memory among us and what that statue really means, and when that statue was erected, and when that statue was created as a gift to the city of New York by Italian American immigrants, many of whom had scraped together pennies from their pockets to donate to Il Progresso, to erect that statue, in an effort to change the narrative about who Italian Americans were, that we were not the great unwashed, that we were not illiterate immigrants, that we were not the people that the New York Times at the time praised when there was a lynching in New Orleans. We were trying to change the narrative that we were in fact scholars, that we were in fact educated, that we were lovers of the arts, that we were explorers, that we were great people, and we wanted to share that history with this city that had shared so much with us. That's what that statue means to Italian Americans. And to hear people speak about our heritage as if it doesn't matter is painful to us. But there's also an opportunity for Italian Americans in this situation, I believe. Because it's been a long time since we truly were openly discriminated against. Because as you see, alongside us here in Staten Island, we are doctors and lawyers, we are senators, we are assembly members, we are the borough president. The governor of this state is an Italian American. The mayor of this city is an Italian American. We are leaders of our hospital system, academics. We are everywhere in this state. And sometimes we forget that it's not that long ago that we were considered the great unwashed, when people celebrated the fact that we were lynched in public. And so maybe out of this, as we reflect on our own history, we'll be a little bit kinder to others who are coming behind us. I hope that's what we've learned from this.
In Columbus's case, a true understanding of the history behind the statue reveals the proud and inspirational immigrant success story of the Italian people in America. Coming from a political party that claims to champion the immigrant cause, the left should be the first ones to line up and defend Columbus's statue, especially after having no qualms about marching in the Columbus Day Parade when campaign season comes around. With all these issues surrounding our great city, homelessness, traffic, taxes, the opioid epidemic, and countless others, New York tax dollars should be allocated to more pressing issues than this commission and this folly. Thank you.
Please, again. Tearing down the statue damages the idea of the American dream and what this nation can provide. The Great Wall of China has been built since 260 BC. It was designed to separate themselves from other Asians, yet millions of people around the world spend thousands of dollars to go see a wall built on top of dead bodies. That is, if anything, one of the greatest symbols of segregation on this earth today. We cannot rewrite history. However, we can be celebrating the collective of cultures that helped build this nation. As a city, we can stop this latest trend of stripping this world of its treasures and capture the success of past. Mayor de Blasio said in his campaign slogan that this is our city, but moments like today prove that it really is not. We need to work together as a people and voice our concerns, and this truly is one of our biggest ones today. Please leave the statue as is, for it brings hope to the future generation of people, men and women, to come.
As a member of the military, we take an oath to the Constitution to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Erasing history, for better or worse, and that's also in the eye of the beholder, as many have testified, is what totalitarian thugs do, such as Stalin, Mao, Hitler, Pol Pot, and what ISIS is currently doing. The so-called Monument Commission is right out of the socialist communist playbook of Pevin and Saul Alinsky, his book, Rule for Radicals, whose foreword is, by the way, dedicated to Lucifer. So I hope you have the courage to do nothing. That's what you should do, nothing. And bring it back to your other commission members. Because history will look upon you, and someday there'll be a monument with all your names on it, showing how radical you are in destroying the history of America.
It is an insult and an offensive act to every Italian American that's made a positive contribution to society. And this has to stop. Mr. Columbus made some mistakes. Every leader with a statue has made mistakes. What's next? Mount Rushmore? We're going to take down the Verrazano Bridge?
Here is the woman that started all this. She seems to have disappeared. I would have liked to have seen the person, the Speaker of the City Council, who I refuse to mention her name, at the very least testify. Since she dragged me out of bed on August 21st, standing in front of a statue, proclaiming to be speaking for Indians, which didn't appear until a month later in a letter form, not in body. But she created this, and yet she hasn't found the respect to be able to sit in front of you and actually give testimony, or at the very least speak to the city after what she did. Everything that we're looking at now is the interpretation. Do not take that statue down. That statue was vetted 3 times in its history. When it was being considered to be erected, when it was brought before the Italian community and they donated pennies and nickels to erect it, and then later on in history, when the holiday was named after him. That statue was already vetted. Let's leave it alone.
And about my child. And I just want to say I'm in support of the statues remaining where they are. And I support it because I view the statues as works of art. I know there's a lot of historical content within those statues, but like I said on yesterday, the beauty of those statues are in the eyes of the beholder, and it's how we interpret the history of those statues. Some view it from a historical point of view based on your nationality, your race, or your location. I only view them as works of art. And I think that this commission is dealing with art more than the historical content, and we must remember that.
It is eerily reminiscent of the Soviet Union's attempts to change history by removing images of previous governments, eliminate printed material, and altering photos of historical events. It's called historical negationism, and it's been used by people who want to deny the Holocaust and Japanese war crimes during World War II. There are some who horrifically and unconscionably even want to deny September 11th occurred. And that's why attempting to erase our history is extremely dangerous, and this entire exercise is a slippery slope.